process of...
Well, a very good evening to you. We sure hope that you've had yourself a lovely day so far. Welcome to KBC Channel 1 Business Insight. My name is Betty Kiptum. Now, tonight we have a lot lined up for you, including details of the arrest of the Kenya Bureau of Standards Managing Director for allegedly frustrating efforts of investigations towards graft by the EACC. That and much, much more. But first, let's have a look at what has happened today on matters COVID-19. Now, today, or rather within the past 24 hours, around 2,704 samples were tested. The confirmed cases of these were 268. We have 20 recoveries so far in the past 24 hours, and unfortunately, 3 people have lost their lives. Now, since have been 176,131 samples that have been tested. Confirmed of these is 6,941. The recoveries so far, 2,109 people have recovered and 152 lives have been lost to the COVID-19 pandemic. We shall be bringing you the details of that and much, much more. But first, here are today's highlights.
One MCA, one MP, one whoever. No.
No room for politics. President Kenyatta cautions politicians against politicizing the Kazi Mtaani program.
The MD Kebs, yes, he was arrested in the morning, and it was simple. We wanted certain documents on a certain case that we are investigating.
Going after perpetrators of graft, detectives from the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission grill Kebs boss Bernard Njiraini over the irregular award of tenders.
The country has registered close to 7,000 cases. In the past week alone, we have recorded on average 222 cases per day.
268 persons test positive for COVID-19, raising the number of confirmed cases in the country to 6,951. And government shelves plan to privatize state-owned sugar mills.
Welcome to the bulletin. I'm Betty Kiptum. My colleague on the sign language interpretation is Byron Abuli. Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta has warned against political interference in the forthcoming national rollout of the Kazi Mtaani Youth Employment Program. His warning coming ahead of the launch of the second phase of the National Hygiene Program, which aims at providing jobs to young people whose livelihoods have been disrupted by the COVID-19 pandemic.
As the 2-day training workshop on Kazi Mtaani for regional and county commissioners was concluded Thursday, ahead of the launch of the second phase of the National Hygiene Program on Monday next week, President Uhuru Kenyatta would use the platform to warn against political interference in the national rollout of the program, which aims at assisting young people whose livelihoods had been disrupted by the COVID-19 pandemic.
This is not a process of trying to get kura for one person, one MCA, one MP, one whoever. No. This is a process of ensuring that we assist the most vulnerable in our society during this particular period. And those must be the people. And I will follow very closely because this is something that is very close to me, it's very dear to me.
The president terming the pilot phase a success, directing regional and county commissioners to ensure that the program is not mismanaged.
I have seen its impact on the lives of young people, especially here in Nairobi. And that is the same that I expect to see across the country. By properly utilizing these monies, we have seen even a reduction in crime because people are positively engaged. This is what we would like to hear in all our sub-counties.
This even as he underscored the need for transparency in the recruitment of those who will be engaged in the program. The pilot phase of the Kazi Mtaani program targeted the youth in several slums in Kiambu, Nairobi, Mombasa, Kwale, Nakuru, Mandera, Kilifi and Kisumu counties, with about 300,000 youths set to benefit from the national rollout. For Channel 1 News, I'm Safin Acheng Oma.
To graft matters now, the Kenya Bureau of Standards Managing Director Bernard Njiraini spent the better part of the day being grilled by EACC officers for allegedly frustrating graft investigations by failing to comply to a notice to provide crucial documents. Njiraini, who was arrested on Thursday morning, is accused of attempting to frustrate investigations into irregular procurement and issuing of bribes to secure tenders at KEBS. Jacqueline Wambiru with the details as EACC steps up the war against graft.
The KEBS managing director was picked up Thursday morning by detectives before he was driven to EACC headquarters, where he spent the better part of the day. Njiraini was arrested after he allegedly failed to act on a notice by detectives seeking to be provided with original documents relating to tender documents at KEBS.
It is true he was arrested, and the focus was that he was not cooperating in providing key documents on investigation that the Commission is carrying on in regards to KEBS.
EACC CEO Twalib Mbarak says his failure to furnish them with the documents contravened the law and was frustrating their efforts in investigating claims of procurement irregularities in respect of tenders for provision of pre-export conformity of goods, used motor vehicles, mobile equipment and spare parts by KEBS.
The law is very clear that if you don't cooperate in any investigation, we can compel you to give information through the legal mechanism, and we are allowed to arrest you.
Mbarak pointed out his non-compliance amounted to attempting to subvert justice and timely conclusion of the probe. At the same time, he pointed out EACC officers were on the trail of a governor who has been accused of misappropriating public funds.
We are investigating KEMSA. We are also investigating certain counties. And maybe in the next 1 month, right now we are focusing on about prime counties, we are focusing about 5 counties. And we feel that in the next 1 month you may see another governor possibly being arrested.
Reporting for Channel 1 News, I'm Jackie Wambiru.
Now, the Ministry of Health is appealing to those living with pre-existing conditions such as diabetes and hypertension to continue attending their clinics and adhering to a healthy diet in the wake of surging COVID-19 cases. The ministry says such measures will help boost their immune system during the pandemic when they are more vulnerable and accounting for the highest number of fatalities. The instructions coming as the coronavirus tally rose to 6,941 after 268 more cases were confirmed, with 3 more people succumbing to the disease.
The coronavirus pandemic has taken a toll on patients suffering from non-communicable diseases such as diabetes and hypertension, with majority of fatalities reported having had pre-existing conditions.
Predominantly those who die, majority of our patients have more than 2 conditions. And usually we have more than 2 existing conditions, majority being with diabetes and hypertension. That is the highest risk factor for COVID mortality, followed by diabetes alone, then hypertension, then other conditions including cancer.
Health Chief Administrative Secretary Dr. Rashid Aman calling on those with the pre-existing condition to ensure they adhere to a healthy dietary regimen, especially during the coronavirus pandemic.
A balanced diet is critical for preventing and managing non-communicable diseases and their related complications during this COVID-19 pandemic and beyond. Those who adhere to a healthy diet are able to maintain the acceptable blood sugar levels, manage their blood pressure levels, and maintain ideal body weights.
Over the last 24 hours, 268 people tested positive for coronavirus out of 2,704 samples tested, bringing the total caseload in the country to 6,941, just a few cases shy of the 7,000 mark.
The battle ahead is tough, but it's far from lost. There is still much to be done, and our country has the determination, the solidarity, and the tools to flatten the COVID-19 curve.
Nairobi had 175 cases, out of which Dagoretti North recorded 34, with Kibra registering 29 cases. Ruaka had 24 cases, while Langata recorded 21 cases. Mombasa had 28 cases, Busia 18, Kiambu 11, Kajiado 9, Migori 9 and Uasin Gishu 8 cases. Within that period, 20 patients were discharged, bringing the total number of recoveries to 2,109, while a further 3 patients succumbed to the virus. However, the Ministry of Health is still concerned about stigmatization against those who have recovered.
Person who has been declared recovered from COVID-19 poses no further risk than any one of us here who is normal in that sense. And there is no need to stigmatize the disease or those who have suffered from the disease.
Stigma will lead to further isolation, and with isolation, and that will lead to either anxiety or depression.
Even as more patients continue to be discharged from the hospital after making full recovery, the Ministry of Health is still concerned following the stigmatization that these patients are facing alongside their families, hence calling on Kenyans to embrace them even as they seek to reintegrate into society. Nancy Okware, Channel 1 News.
Thank you, Nancy Okwara, for that report. Now, still on matters COVID-19, the government has intensified surveillance in the wake of rising COVID-19 cases, with those entering the country subjected to mandatory testing. The strict measures coming as 15 students who were part of a group of Kenyans who jetted back into the country from Sudan last weekend tested positive for COVID-19.
The students who were repatriated back to the country arrived at the Moi International Airport in Mombasa aboard a Kenya Airways flight on Saturday and were subjected to a mandatory health check at the airport and later sent for 14 days quarantine. 15 out of the 84 students have since tested positive for coronavirus and are undergoing treatment, while the rest remain in quarantine until they are retested.
Kweli kuna wengine walitoka positive. And as a public health department, we had to make sure we isolate the positive ones from those who are negative. So we have moved these cases to the isolation center, that is at Kiptum, and that is where the 15 positives are.
In the meantime, Kiambu Member of Parliament Jude Njomo has called on the Ministry of Health to ensure standard results for COVID-19 patients, citing the case of his mother who he says tested positive for COVID-19 at pathologist Lancet Kenya on June 10th. With the subsequent test returning negative results, the legislator said it was unfortunate that some families have been subjected to untold suffering through defective testing. The mother later died and was buried in accordance with COVID-19 guidelines.
So I wanted the National Assembly Committee to investigate so that we ensure that no other Kenyan will ever suffer because of misdiagnosis by a laboratory. We want to make sure that the results that are announced on a daily basis by the Ministry of Health are accurate results, are results that are factual and not anything fabricated.
Elsewhere, health experts in Malaba have raised concern over failure by expectant mothers and children living along the Kenya-Uganda border to get vaccinated for serious illnesses in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic. The country has witnessed a reduction in the number of people accessing health facilities ever since the first case of COVID-19 was confirmed.
Those who come from around or within the borders, just bring your babies for immunization. The expectant mothers, kindly come for your ANC clinics.
Beatrice Gatonyengetich, Channel 1 News.
And the coronavirus pandemic has not only presented a new challenge for the country's health system, but also complicated ongoing efforts by the government to ensure equitable access to healthcare resources, especially for those with chronic illnesses. And as the country struggles to contain the spread of the virus, what precautions should those living with non-communicable diseases take? Take a look.
These are diseases which are chronic in nature, and therefore, that being the case, these conditions kind of reduces the body immunity. What I mean by the body immunity is that they brings down the level the ability of the body to protect itself against various infection. And therefore, during this time of COVID-19, taking into account that a person living with NCD, the immunity level is not as good as that of a normal person. And therefore, the need of person living with NCD to take extra care.
Away from COVID-19 now, Kakamega Governor Wycliffe Oparanya is on the spot for failing to document 7 billion shillings worth of fixed assets acquired by the county for the past 7 years. Oparanya, who appeared before the Senate Public Accounts Committee, was at pains to justify why he is yet to register the assets, despite several concerns raised by the Auditor General.
Chair, I think...
The Kakamega County Governor Wycliffe Oparanya appeared before the Senate Public Accounts Committee to explain why the county lacks an asset register 7 years after its establishment. The 2017-2018 audit report for Kakamega County had revealed that despite acquiring assets, the county was yet to list them in a fixed asset register for audit. Attempts by the governor to shift blame to the Transition Authority, whom he faulted for not preparing an official register, did not go well with the senators, who pointed out the Auditor General had on several occasions recommended the listing of county assets.
The Transition Authority was supposed to come up with a full, that was one of its mandate, to come up with a full register of the assets of the different local authorities and hand over to the respective county government. Unfortunately, their term expired before they concluded that exercise.
But for the last 8 years or so, you have been in office, you have been acquiring assets, you have been constructing buildings, you have been coming up with, you have been buying new vehicles, you have been buying all sorts of things as part of development and all that for the people of Kakamega. That should be in a document somewhere which the auditors could look at, where you got these summaries from.
The senators want the governor to account for the assets acquired since 2013, even as counties wait for the Intergovernmental Relations Committee to compile the final list.
The assets that you have acquired from the time you took office, 2013, 2014, up to date. Do you have an updated asset record, asset register? And I think this is what the auditors were trying to find out. And if you are able to hand over that asset register to the auditors for perusing, while appreciating these are processes, and I think you have clearly stated as much.
At the same time, there is concerns over the delay by the Intergovernmental Relations Committee to release the final list of assets inherited by counties from defunct local authorities, which they say is putting the public resources at risk. For 7 years, the county governments have not been submitting a comprehensive list of assets for audit because they have never been quantified by the state agency. Kevin Washira, Channel 1 News.
Well, this is KBC Business Insight, and we would like to take a quick short break, but we will be back with more news, including business as well as sports updates. Stay tuned.
Next on.
Ngoja niulize jamaa, nani hapa hivi amepimwa hivi majuzi?
Pale kwa Mwangi, si ni 10 bob?
Sijasema kupimwa weight. Saa hizi kupimwa HIV ni haraka na ni bure.
Ya muhimu kwanza ni kujua hali yako ya status ya HIV.
Run! Run! And put the gun down, man. I know where he lives. Don't tell me what to do. What can I possibly offer you? I'm just a simple auto mechanic.
Kukuwa na HIV si eti ni mwisho.
Wewe uko nayo?
Mimi nilishapima.
Afya bora, maisha bora. Jipime, jiinue.
Jumapili hii kwenye runinga ya KBC, ungana naye Askofu Michael Wanderi wa kanisa la Christian Foundation Fellowship Kiambu kuanzia saa 1 hadi saa 2 asubuhi.
Ningetaka nikwambie, our Jehovah God, because the Bible says he is the same yesterday, today and forevermore. He is able to take you to a place of abundance. He is able to take you to Rehoboth in the name of Jesus Christ.
Kipindi ni neno la neema, ukiletewa naye Askofu Michael Wanderi wa kanisa la Christian Foundation Fellowship Kiambu. Usikose.
My trust is in you.
Welcome back. You are watching Business Insight. Now, the fate of a case in which Arbageransi Assistant Chief Kalmoy Ahmed is accused of defiling a Form 3 student is in limbo after the suspect failed to be presented in court. There was drama outside the court in Wajir as the family and human rights groups accused the police of colluding with the suspect to evade a court process. This comes amid attempts to have the matter settled outside the courts. Caroline Kamau with details of the family's cry to have their daughter receive justice.
The pain of a mother seeking what seems to be elusive justice for her daughter, defiled by the very man charged with the responsibility of protecting her. Family, women leaders and civil society organizations come to outside the court demanding the assistant chief faces the law.
Hii ni pesa ndio inafanya. Kama huyo mtu akikuwa miskini ama kwa na family angefungwa leo. Maisha. Wengine walifungwa maka 30 maka 40 na maisha ambayo walifanya makosa kidogo. Hii chief alifanya hiyo kitondo, aliwachiliwa ajili ya family na pesa.
The family is accusing the police of colluding with the suspect to evade a court process after he failed to show up in court to answer to the charges.
What is the prosecution doing about the case that has been brought, supposed to be the accused supposed to appear in court? Why is he resting in cell? What is so special with assistant chief? And by violating, despite violating the life of the young girl.
At the same time, a blame game has ensued between the county criminal investigation officers and officers from the office of the DPP in Wajir, who have differed over a proposal to have the case transferred to Garissa.
Supposed to be arraigned to court even today, immediately, even today. But you see, a person who is supposed to give consent on the charge sheet is the DPP here. But the DPP is under instructions that the file be taken to Garissa. So we are still in communication, and because the court is here and the DPP is here, we are ready to take this person to court in Wajir.
The family says this is an attempt to derail justice, even as a section of community leaders push for the matter to be settled through the Masla dispute resolution system. It is now a game of wait and see to see what direction the case will take, even as the family cries for justice for their kin. Caroline Kamau reporting for Channel 1 News.
Now, Chief Justice David Maraga has challenged Kenyans to embrace the e-filing system, saying it will end the era of missing files and improve efficiency in tracking court documents and concluding cases. Separately, Migori Governor Okoth Obado took to the witness stand to testify in a case in which he is accusing South Kanyamkago MCA Graham Kagali of tainting his name, following claims by the MCA that Obado had conspired to poison him.
The Migori governor was at Migori Law Courts alongside the county executive member in charge of roads, Moses Chamwada. The duo took to the witness stand in a case in which he won South Kanyamkago MCA Graham Kagali jailed for tarnishing his name. Kagali had filed a case against Obado, accusing him of attempting to poison him, which was later established to be false by the Director of Public Prosecutions. This prompted the governor to file a case against him for attempting to tarnish his name. The hearing of the case is set for the 14th of July. Meanwhile, in Nairobi, Chief Justice David Maraga was at Milimani Law Courts, where he visited the scanning center a day after the judiciary launched an e-filing platform.
You find either some pages have fallen off, or even some documents have disappeared from the file. And that's a problem we have had for a long, long time. forget about the storage. If the, I mean, just a children knows she was a registrar one time. She knows the go downs we have. Go downs we have in industrial area for storage. So that all this will be a thing of the past.
Maraga hailed the new system that is expected to expedite court cases as well as reduce incidences of loss of files. He urged the court officials and Kenyans to embrace it.
I want connectivity, and if there is anything, if it is boosters, this building and the Supreme Court should be the last buildings in the judiciary with weak connectivity.
Meanwhile, Chief Inspector David Tenei has been given 7 days by the court to record statements from President Uhuru Kenyatta and former Prime Minister Raila Odinga in a case in which the duo want Patrick Redding Abogo and Magoma Ayonga charged with the offense of unauthorized interception of computer data. The duo allegedly released CCTV footage showing the president and the former premier inspecting roadworks along Kenyatta Avenue. The case will be mentioned on the 9th of July this year. Finally, a German national, Thomas Scheller, who was charged with several counts of defilement in child pornography, is seeking to be released on bail. The accused had earlier on been denied bail on grounds that he isn't a Kenyan national and was a flight risk.
The children officer report was filed on the 19th of June 2020. The ruling on review of bond will be on the 13th of July 2020. Meanwhile, comply a pre-trial, and on that date will also confirm whether it complied and will fix the matter for hearing.
The ruling in regards to this is set for the 13th of July. Reporting for Scales of Justice, I'm Serafina Robbie.
Parliament has until the end of this month to make amendments to the Public Finance Management Bill after the President referred the bill back to the National Assembly for consideration. In a memorandum to the Speaker of the National Assembly, the President expressed reservations on proposed amendments, arguing that they could lead to duplication of roles.
President Uhuru Kenyatta has declined to assent to the Public Finance Management Bill, instead sending it back to the National Assembly for reconsideration. The bill had proposed that clauses in the Public Finance Management Bill be amended to allow Parliamentary Service Commission to reserve additional funds for use by Parliament. In a memorandum to the House, the President expressed reservation that the bill may have adverse impact on the principle of separation of power between the executive and the legislature.
Fully accommodate his reservations, His Excellency the President recommends that the bill be amended to permit the establishment of other parliamentary funds, but limit the purpose of such funds to cater for parliamentary mortgage, parliamentary car loan, and the parliamentary catering fund, which indeed was the intention of the bill.
Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning has 21 days to consider recommendations and make necessary changes.
An amendment that does not fully accommodate the President's reservations, or indeed one that has the effect of a total override of the President's reservations, including negating his proposed text, will require a 2/3 voting threshold to be passed in keeping with the provisions of Article 115, Clause 4 of the Constitution. The House is accordingly guided. Thank you.
Meanwhile, members of Parliament are considering the Refugees Bill, which seeks to enhance the right of refugees and their contribution in the socio-economic development. MPs who spoke to the bill called for the adoption of refugees who have stayed in the country as citizens.
Principles of non-refoulement, which provide that no one shall expel or return a refugee against his or her will to a territory where he or she fears threats to life or freedom. And finally, refugee self-reliance, as provided for in clause 28 in bracket 4 of the bill. It states that refugees shall be enabled to contribute to the economic and social development of Kenya.
We are also aware that even as we host them, some of the countries, neighboring countries where they come from, are also stabilizing, and for that reason, we also need to come up with a smooth way of enabling voluntary repatriation of these refugees, Madam Speaker.
Following today's sitting, the National Assembly proceeds for a month recess, with the normal business of the House set to resume on 28th of July. For Channel 1 News, I'm Gladys Mungai.
Now, it was an emotional send-off as 4 children who were reportedly killed by their mother in Naivasha were laid to rest. The bodies of the 4 children were discovered on Friday in an accident that shocked the country. Details of these and other highlights in the county news roundup.
It was a ceremony to bid farewell to the 4 departed souls, an emotional service that saw residents of Kinangop in Nyandarua County congregate in their numbers. Emotions ran high as the caskets bearing the remains were taken off the hearse. Hundreds of mourners attended the ceremony, with those tasked with ensuring that they observe social distancing having a hard time. Those who spoke at the ceremony calling on those undergoing emotional turmoil to seek help. Elsewhere, Deputy Inspector General of Police Edward Mbugo has cautioned police officers against engaging in corruption, saying stern action will be taken against perpetrators. Mbugo was speaking when he toured the Mwiki police station and police lands in Mwihoko, Mutuya area.
Umekamatwa na pombe, umefanya nini? Iyo you have a right to demand to be given cash bail. Kwa sababu watu wengine hufanya kitu lakini hawajui nini ni makosa. So ni mzuri kuonya wewe na nikuambie ukifanya hii tena sasa utachukuliwa nini? Hatua. Lakini ningetaka relationship yenu.
Elsewhere, 116 families who lost their homes to floods in May have received donations from the county government of Bomet to assist in reconstruction of their houses. Bomet Governor Hilary Barchok distributed 20 iron sheets and roofing nails to each household whose houses were destroyed by the floods in Cheptebes and Kapsarur villages in Chepalungu and Sotik sub-counties. The families had earlier received food donations and household items from the Kenya Red Cross Society in partnership with the county government.
So ile utatafuta tu ni ile miti ya kuchenga. Otherwise, mambo ya roofing tutamaliza kama county government ya Bomet.
And Kirinyaga Deputy Governor Peter Ndambiri has told of his boss Anne Mumbi Waiguru, accusing her of trying to hide behind politics to evade from accountability. According to Ndambiri, the county boss needs to stop passing blame and take responsibility.
Na mtu akiulizwa swali kuhusu utumiaji wa pesa, aidha iwe ni baya ama ni nzuri, mtu anafaa kujibu. Kama ni mimi mmenipatia kiti, muniulize kwa nini pesa imetumika hivi ya hii shule. Why shouldn't I tell you?
Finally, police in Samburu County have launched a manhunt for a man accused of defiling his niece. The suspect is said to have defiled the 15-year-old girl after she was sent to his house to get utensils.
Mtoto amekaa nje. Sasa ndio ni kukaa kitu saa 2 ndio Isa Kikonyo akakuja. Akaniambia hiyo kazini yangu. Akaniambia uko na pesa kwa simu unisavasie. Nikamwambia hapana. Sasa baadaye kidogo tena akarudi. Akaniambia kuja uone mtoto yako. Kwenda kuona mtoto alikuwa kwa kiti yake amefaint.
Despite hefty penalties prescribed by law on sexual offences in the country, there has been a rise in such cases over the past couple of months, with human rights crusaders calling for a need for heightened vigilance to curb such vices. Yusuf Farah, Channel 1 News.
Let's now move to the business news of the day. The government has shelved a plan to privatize state-owned sugar companies in favor of long-term lease agreements with potential investors. Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya says leasing the factories for about 20 years will offer the government an upper hand to regulate the industry and protect farmers from exploitation.
The government has been toying with the idea of disposing of rid of state-owned sugar millers in a bid to revitalize the sugar industry that has been a source of misery for farmers, employees, suppliers and shareholders. So far, Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya said debt owed by sugar millers have hit 62 billion shillings. The government now seems to have shelved the idea of privatizing state-owned sugar factories, whose process has dragged on for about a decade in favor of a 20-year lease agreements. Lease bids for Chemilil, Miwani, Mohoroni, Nzoia and Sony sugar companies will be open on Monday next week.
To lease out all the sugar factories, the 5 of them. All the bid documents are ready. The Attorney General is looking at them right now as we speak, and we'll be putting them out in the newspapers on Monday.
Prospective buyers are expected to show business development plans. The leased sugar factories will also be required to generate electricity from their operations as well as ethanol.
Our focus will be on sugar, which is the main product, and the co-production of ethanol and the co-generation of power, and value-add products such as industrial sugar, palmer sugar, and sugar cubes.
To incentivize the lease, the government has written off 62 billion shillings debt accrued by the factories to accelerate the company's turnaround.
Government, as the cabinet already said, we write them off so that those who lease the sugar factories will not again be brought down by debts. So government is removing that burden so that the investors are now able to take over those factories.
To protect farmers from exploitation, the government is recommending amendment to the sugar bill, which is before the National Assembly, to recreate the sugar board that will set cane pricing in the country, alongside a sugar committee that will play an advisory role. Benson Rioba reporting for Channel 1 Business.
Kenyans and international tourists visiting local game parks and reserves are to be charged half of the entry fee with immediate effect. Speaking in Mombasa, Tourism and Wildlife Cabinet Secretary Najib Balala also slashed filming fee within the parks by 50%. The measures are expected to support recovery of the tourism sector, which has been hurt by the COVID-19 pandemic.
The announcement by Tourism and Wildlife Cabinet Secretary Najib Balala comes at a time when Kenya's tourism sector is on its knees thanks to the COVID-19 crisis. The reduction of game park and reserve entry fee is applicable to all locals, residents and international visitors effective 1st of July. Similarly, Balala allowed KWS to give a one-year moratorium to lodge owners in its parks and reserves for rent payment beginning Thursday. According to KWS, park fee in premium parks have declined by 47%.
Today we are announcing a 50% discount for park entry fees for Kenya Wildlife Service parks and reserves. We appreciate that this should encourage both locals and international visitors.
The moratorium is expected to help lodge owners use the savings to improve visitor experience and promote local parks as preferred destinations. With increasing adoption of virtual safari among tour operators, Balala also slashed filming fees in the park by 50%.
As well as we have appreciated that a lot of people are doing documentaries in promoting conservation, wildlife, and also the parks. So we have given 50% discounts to all the filmmakers, both amateurs and professionals, so that we can be able to use these films and documentaries to promote our parks.
Tourism and Wildlife Cabinet Secretary Najib Balala has exuded confidence that Kenya's aviation service will commence smoothly once COVID-19 restrictions are lifted.
Congratulations to Kenya Airport Authority and also congratulations to Kenya Airways, because everybody is gearing to take off.
Balala made the remarks when he toured Moi International Airport in Mombasa to inspect the measures put in place in preparation for resumption of passenger flights.
Now, CAT, that is locally known as Mira, is part of the bride prize in the Ameru community. According to the community's Council of Elders, the Njuri in Cheke, dowry presented by a suitor must include a bundle of the stimulant in appreciation of the region's Mira growing culture. Tonight, we continue with our four-part series, Tourism Rebirth Post-COVID-19 in Meru.
Tigania and Igembe parts of the larger Meru County take pride in the Mira growing culture. Mira plays a key role in dowry negotiations among the Ameru community. Mira is strongly linked to Tigania and Igembe ancestors. Folklore say its consumption was once restricted to the elders alone. We visited Jacob Kiamba's Mira farm in Igembe. He also does beekeeping.
Mtu akitoka Kisumu, akitoka Kosti, kitu ya kwanza akiingia hapa Meru anaheshimu Njuri Ncheke. Mtu akitaka bibi Kitu ya kwanza kabisa ile unapelekea huyo msichana apelekee baba yake ni miraa. Kwa vile inafungwa kwa lugha yetu ya Kemeru inaitwa ncholo. Inapofika kwa huyo baba wa msichana akipelekea yeye, kitu ya kwanza baba anauliza huyo msichana, hii miraa imekuja, nikule ama nisikule? Msichana anamwambia kula baba. Akimwambia kula baba, baba anajua ya kwamba huyu msichana anapenda huyo kijana.
Traditionally, the dowry package included a bundle of miraa, a drum of honey, a bowl, and a blanket.
Kuhusu tena miraa yetu hii ambaye munaona, nikikosea msee mkubwa kusinda mimi, ni lazima napelekea yeye huyo miraa, namwambia baba, nimekukosea, sika hii miraa.
Area hii wote unategemea miraa. Miraa ni mmea ambao ni wa kutoka enzi sababu zetu.
Members of this Council of Elders comprise of individuals held in high regard by the community. One has to have wisdom, personal discipline, and knowledge of the traditions, among other qualities. During the current global health crisis posed by COVID-19, the Ncheke have taken the lead in encouraging adherence to safety protocols, especially avoiding social gatherings such as dowry negotiations until such a time that it will be safe to do so.
Tunasaidiana na community kuinua pia miraa, especially our department ya agriculture inasaidia kuelimisha wale wadudu wana affect miraa, vile wataitibu ndio isiharibiwe na miraa.
Irene Mchuma Udim, Channel 1 in the county of Meru.
Well, quite interesting there to learn about the Meru culture, just part of the melting pot of Kenyan cultures. Well, when we come back, we shall be telling you why the digital insurance just could be the lifeline for the insurance sector. Stay tuned.
You may be in the pit. You do not see how you could get out. But the good news is that you do not have to get by yourself. The Most High God is about to lift you out. He's about to turn the medical report. He's about to free you. He's about to open new doors, bringing new opportunities, new relationships.
Kupata The Pit, bonyeza star 811 star 967 hash. Bonyeza star 811 star 967 hash.
On the next episode of
Tena usiniite. Hamna tofauti. Wasikia? Tena sikiza wewe mwanamke, ulipokuwa ukifanya haya mambo yote, hukujua dhara zake. Mwangalie. Mwanamke.
Jamani. Wajua Linda ametoroka wewe. Ametoroka?
Mwenda wapi na?
Haya kuhusu.
Haba usiseme kitu.
Hata usiseme.
Liona nijiseme.
Tujali kazi zenu
pereka huko. Unajua ni wewe tumetoa hapa ushamba juzi. Basi tafutani mwingine mmtau zaba. Wewe digivia wewe.
Najua jambo lako wewe kulala in a mental hospital should have been the first thing on your CV.
Unadhani hiyo bedroom kuachwa wazi ilikuwa kimakosa?
Kwani kitaka kwani unajua?
Nini haswa mnapanga na Chris?
Basi nenda kamwambia Joel, hakuna mahali hapa duniani mimi siwezi kufika. Mwambie. Ala, come on.
Sikufaulu.
Shut up!
Thank you for staying with Business Insight. Now, the Cooperative Bank of Kenya is now awaiting for a green light from regulators to finalize the 90% acquisition of Jamii Bora Bank. This follows a unanimous approval of the transaction by shareholders of Jamii Bora Bank during the extraordinary general meeting held Wednesday. Details of these and others in our corporate briefs.
The acquisition of Jamii Bora Bank comes just months after the previous Jamii Bora suitor, Commercial Bank of Africa, dropped its acquisition bid and instead merged with NIC Bank to form NCBA Group. In the previous deal, CBA had in January last year made a 1.4 billion shillings cash offer. The Coop Bank deal, however, is the latest instance of merging in Kenya's banking industry that will see an injection of 1 billion shillings additional capital into Jamii Bora Bank, besides appointment of the new board to run the new outfit. In a statement to newsrooms, Coop Bank CEO disclosed that through an extraordinary general meeting held on 1st July 2020, its offer was unanimously approved to acquire 90% of the lender. Jamii Bora Bank, with over 444,000 customers and 17 branches, employs over 190 staff, has faced liquidity shortfalls that remain below regulatory threshold. The move will see Coop Bank expand its customer and asset base in the region to over 470 billion shillings. Morioki says the acquisition will strengthen both institutions, leveraging on Cooperative Bank's universal banking model. Coop Bank amassed a profit of 20.7 billion shillings for the year ending December 31st, 2019, and on April 23rd, 2020, the company paid out over 5.9 billion shillings in dividends to its shareholders. Alan Aoko, Channel 1 Business.
Counties spent more than 126 billion shillings on salaries and allowances between July last year and March this year, despite a significant drop in revenue collection. The devolved units further spent 48 billion shillings on development, reflecting a 25% absorption rate in the 3 quarters of 2019-2020 fiscal year. This is according to the latest Consolidated County Budget Implementation Review report by Controller of Budget, which is raising concerns over the low expenditure on development projects.
7 years since the devolved units were formed, the question of how much is spent on the recurrent expenditure has been a thorny issue, with counties on average spending more than 50% of their budgets on salaries and allowances. Development expenditure has remained stuck at around 25%, delaying the construction or renovation of hospitals, roads and school projects. In the 9 months to March 2020, the devolved unit spent a total of 230.5 billion shillings, where recurrent expenditure was 191 billion shillings, while development expenditure amounted to 49.8 billion shillings. During the reporting period, there was a slight improvement in the absorption of development budget from 24.4% in the previous financial year to 25%. However, the Control of Budgets report shows that there was a decline in the percentage of recurrent expenditure to current budget from 64.5% recorded in the first 9 months of financial year 2018-2019 to 63.9% in the reporting period. A review of cumulative expenditure by economic classification showed that 126.3 billion shillings or 52.3% was spent on personal emoluments, while 65.4 billion shillings or 27.1% on operations and maintenance. Development expenditure was captured at 49.8 billion shillings or 20.6% of the overall budget. Counties that reported the highest absorption of development expenditure were Murang'a at 60.2%, Tana River at 45.6% and Marsabit at 43.5%. Nairobi County, Samburu County and Nyandarua County had the lowest absorption of development budget at 11.1%, 6% and 4.1% respectively. On the other hand, county assemblies reported an increase in expenditure on MCA sitting allowances from 1.55 billion shillings in a similar period of financial year 2018-2019 to 1.62 billion shillings. To address these challenges, the Office of the Control of Budget recommends that counties should ensure expenditure on personal emoluments is contained at sustainable levels and in compliance with the Public Finance Management County Government Regulations 2015, develop and implement alternative measures to ensure the budget is fully financed, and County Treasury to restrict expenditure of non-core activities.
Now, could digital transformation aid insurance firms overcome their biggest sector challenge, which is low penetration? Our reporter Regina Manyara engages an expert on the overall impact technology is having on the latent industry, as well as establishing if digital transformation has merit and might be considered the new norm exacerbated by the current COVID-19 disruptions. Take a look.
Going to be the proverbial phoenix that brings about change in the insurance sector. Currently, insurance penetration is still low. What impact will digital transformation have on this industry? I'm Regina Manyara, and taking us through this conversation is none other than the head of Digital at Resolution Insurance. Karibu, and thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you so much. When we decided to set up a digital role in resolution, that was one of the key problems we were going to solve. And it's important for me to set that into perspective. When we say the insurance penetration in Kenya is at 2.7%, we actually look at insurance premiums as a fraction of the GDP. So it has nothing to do with the population or the number of people who are covered. It's how much premiums are paid as a fraction of the total GDP. That's at 2.7%. So when we say that, it means that it points to the products, it points to the premiums that we pay. In my own personal opinion, insurance has not yet been appreciated by the citizens of Kenya. It is very important for insurance companies, for the regulator, for the Association of Kenya Insurance to emphatically make it clear to Kenyans that when you work so hard, the best way to protect what you value, protect what you've worked for so hard, is by getting insurance. So that in the event of a calamity, then you don't go down with the calamity. After the calamity, you should still come up successfully. So we have more work to do around innovation of products that rhyme with Kenyans. We also have more work to do around innovation on digital transformation so that we can ease the delivery of the product to the consumer and even the process of consuming the product.
How will digital transformation define or rather shape the insurance industry currently and also just looking into the future?
So you will realize that the insurance customer is also the banking customer, is also the customer who uses Uber, is also the customer who listens or checks out news on Twitter and online. So our customer is already a digital-ready customer. This customer is having a digital experience when they are banking, when they are transacting, when they are, keeping tabs with what's happening around the globe. So the gap that's now missing is on the insurance side. And the role of digital transformation on insurance really should be around three main pillars. One, on the side of the insurance company, is to reduce the costs of operations. That's the efficiency. That's number one. And then number two is to enhance the customer experience in such a way that customers will be able to experience omni-channel services seamlessly. And for the customer, they are looking at speed, precision, and convenience. So the role of digital transformation in Kenya for now is to increase the level of customer service, improve the speed and transparency to the customer, and of course to reduce on the use of papers.
Insurance relations are very interpersonal. What would be the challenges of adopting technology within the industry?
Now, the challenge that comes with adopting the digital technologies and all of that is the element of the human interaction at the face-to-face. Technology has no empathy. It has no feelings and an emotional connection. It's a thing of, I have a need and I sort out the need. But the human is an emotional being. So the next challenge for digital transformation and believe me, it's possible, is how to bring the element of empathy and emotion and an emotional connection with the customers. That's going to take a long time. And before we get there, the new emerging trend now is that in terms of the new roles that we are likely to see are the roles of relationship. So the technology will fit the customer's needs, but we will still need the human to maintain the relationship element.
Fraud has been quite a challenge that the industry has been tackling over the years. How will adoption of a digital transformation impact on this?
Whatever we do needs to increase our position in terms of profitability. And when we look at that spectrum, what affects the profitability after we receive the premium? The element of fraud there. We say it's fraudulent if you claim, and you should not have claimed. If you claim, and indeed it was not a risk. You know, insurance is against a risk. Something that is likely to happen, not something that has to happen. If it has to happen, then it's not insurable. Maybe we can say that's assurance. So what we are looking at is those sectors that are greatly impacted by fraud. That's mainly motor insurance, health insurance, and an emerging one now is the home insurance, because of the element of jewelry, you know, things like electronics, the phones, things like that. So what we are looking to do, especially with the motor insurance, is integrating and working with partners. So working with partners to help us, what are the driving habits of customers, and at least even to verify that the vehicles exist and they have been valued and they are in a good condition. So one of the solutions we are launching soon is one where when you come in and put in your vehicle details, we send over your information to a valuing company, a valuing partner. They link up with you, they come to where you are, take photos of your car and value your car, and then you come back and do, you could proceed with the journey of the purchase. That's number one. Then number two, we are using a lot of data analytics. Data analytics gives us trends and helps us to create hypotheses, and we use that data to answer the hypothesis.
What current innovations are out there, you know, that were not previously used within the insurance industry? If we just went back 10 years back.
You will not fail to hear of this term in any conference that you go to. One of those terms is artificial intelligence. That's what they're calling AI. And others have come up with something new they're referring to as IA, intelligent automation. I'll talk about all of this. We've heard about robotic process automation. We've heard about chatbots. We've heard about mobile apps and portals, just to mention but a few, and data analytics. So how does all of this come together, and what do those trends mean for the insurance company? So I want to put it this way and say the insurance companies in any business that's looking to digitize needs to collect as much information as possible. The more the data you have about an individual, what we are referring to as data points, the higher the probability that you're going to predict almost accurately about the choices that individual is going to make.
We find that insurance, insurance and those people who take up insurance are domiciled within the urban centers and peri-urban centers. How will the adoption of digital transformation widen the scope?
Previously, 10 years ago actually, is when we would actually say that an insurance company had to have a branch in order to sell. And it was branch and telephones. And now we are finding that we have got portals where customers can go. They can even compare. We have seen portals where customers, which are being run by brokerage companies, customers can go in, put in their details, and get a quote from like 5-6 different insurance companies, and they choose the one they like. So customers now are beginning to appreciate choice. They're beginning to appreciate the difference of one insurance company over the other in terms of service, and not just based on price differentiation. We are seeing elements, introduction of WhatsApp for business. Who thought that an insurance company would receive a customer query from a WhatsApp platform? It's already happening now. Who thought that a customer would go somewhere, make a payment, and take a photo of their slip and send it to the company, and the company will use an intelligent engine behind the scenes, read the receipt, and post that information. We are finding innovations around payment. Payments, previously customers would have to go and they would only pay from a bank. Now customers can pay their premiums through the insurance. We are also finding insurance companies now tokenizing payment. Now the product innovation. We are using digital transformation to even determine what the customer wants. And what's emerging is now what you are saying now. Customers, we have got a huge potential within the agricultural sector that is not covered. And that speaks to micro insurance and agriculture insurance. We've got few insurance companies which are covering that now. And the role of digital transformation here really is partnership, because we are venturing into an unknown area. We need to partner with people, with the farmers themselves, with the people, with the meteorological departments, so that we can have the skill of underwriting these kinds of risks.
One of the main reasons why Kenyans do not take up insurance is the issue of affordability. What is your take on micro-insurance?
There are some pertinent questions to ask for ourselves. Does the person who doesn't have insurance now need insurance? The answer to that question is yes. Does the person who doesn't have insurance now, can they afford insurance as it is now? The answer is no. So you can see the gap over there is a gap to do with the customer needs the insurance, but they cannot afford it. How do we come up with products that are affordable and profitable to the insurance company? When we bridge that gap, then we will begin to see an uptick.
In light of the current COVID-19 disruptions, how has COVID-19 affected the way of doing business within the insurance industry?
Lower premium products, that's number one. So of course that affects our revenues. Number two, we have seen customers opting for staggered payment options as opposed to cash and carry options. That has had an impact on our liquidity and cash flow positions. Now, but we have also seen, due to the reduced economic activities, because you see, insurance is operating within a macroeconomic environment. So meaning that when the other aspects of the economy are operating, then insurance is thriving. When the other aspects of the economy are now downsizing, then by extension, insurance also gets affected. So we have seen reduced movements. We have seen people taking missions. So generally, the number of claims are reducing. So our highest claims come from health and motor insurance. So there are not so many motor accidents happening right now because there are not so many people traveling. Traveling has been restricted, and restriction has actually affected the economic centers of the country, Mombasa, for example, and Nairobi. So the accidents are not really happening, and the claims consequently are reducing. And I talked about the hygiene matters that the citizens are now adhering to, reducing the element of claims. So the claims are also reducing.
Because what I'm hearing from your end is that in one way or another, in hindsight, the issue and the measures put in place by government have in one way or another, ensured, a reduction in claims, and this means good business for you.
Okay, we are looking forward to it because, you see, it has come with two sides. The claims are reducing, but the rate at which premium is flowing in is also reducing significantly. So we also cannot wait for the economy to open. But for us is, how do we continue influencing the customer to continue with those aspects that resulted to low claims? And not really low claims, but resulted to them being more healthy and then staying away from accidents. Yeah? One of the other measures which I also did not mention is that the restriction of opening on entertainment joints also has had a great impact in terms of the infections and the accidents. A lot of people probably enjoy themselves at home with their families without exposing themselves to the risks of having to drive under the influence, and without exposing themselves to infections which they could catch up from the entertainment joints. So on one hand, COVID has had some positive impacts, but overall we are better off with the economy opened up than when it's closed down.
How is the industry reshaping itself in terms of its products and service delivery during COVID-19?
Were it not for COVID, would have taken, I don't know, perhaps even more than 1 year, because we would have said we need to do research, we need to consult, we need to get a consultant before we can make it. But COVID showed up, and immediately we all have to work from home. That means that our claims are flowing from the hospital systems directly into our medical insurance systems, and that reduces logistics. Remember, previously we had to ferry papers from hospitals in as far as Mandera, Mombasa, bring them all the way to Nairobi, and then process those claims. So now, through the integration, the claims just flow seamlessly. We process the payment and we do an EFT.
What does the future hold for the insurance sector?
The best thing about COVID, and in reference to digital transformation, is that previously the amount of heavy lifting that would have had to be done for customers to adopt digital solutions, that heavy lifting has been taken away by COVID, because if you don't have a digital solution, your customer is waiting for it, and they want it right now. If you get it right now, then you have been saved the trouble of having to convince your customer to use it. That's one. And we are looking now to extend that post-COVID so that it becomes the new norm. If we have been able to integrate our systems with the hospitals and claims are flowing here without planning logistics, we're not going to change that. The important thing to note is that whatever companies have done during COVID to survive, they are not going to undo that post-COVID. They're going to continue with that because it brings the advantages.
Thank you for your time. There you've had it, Head of Digital at Resolution Insurance, Francis Ngare, challenging companies to just learn at the speed of the crisis. These uncertainties brought about by COVID-19 have seen the insurance sector, like many others, redefine themselves, leveraging on digital technology to improve customer experience as well as service delivery. In future, digital is the way to go. This inroads that we have made are not just going to end here post-COVID-19. I'm Regina Manyara. You're watching KBC Channel 1 Business.
People who choose to read their Bible daily, they become wiser and they become stronger than the people who don't read their Bibles. So when you choose hard, difficult things, you become a natural leader. He brings us to church to introduce to us another higher level of relationship that is called a faith relationship. You are also a solution to somebody else's problem. You cannot be the only problem all the time.
Join Pastor Ginny Masharia on The Master's Touch this Sunday from 8 a.m. on KBC Channel 1.
The emperor supposes that when Rajaraj comes to know of this proclamation, he will surrender to protect his daughter.
They are imprisoning me? But for what?
It's the emperor's order. He has declared that if King Rajaraj doesn't surrender in 3 days, his daughter will be punished for his crimes.
I had never imagined that you would betray me like this.
We can't do any more than this for the daughter of a traitor.
Even I shall accompany you to pray for mother.
Do I say no to them? I was the one to start all this drama.
On the next episode of Corner.
Are you standing up for Wangoi? Like, seriously?
Yes. Abasi, he keeps hinting about Wangoi. It's like he knows something.
Yeah. Simon. Look at you both. All grown up. So beautiful.
Sikumwambia chochote. Lakini anaonekana yuko stressed out.
Why did you leave me?
Well, thank you for staying with Channel 1. This is Business Insight, and I'm Betty Kiptum. Byron Abuli is my colleague on the sign language interpretation. Now, Treasury Chief Administrative Secretary Nelson Gaishu here says the revenue collection dips witnessed due to economic slowdown will begin to improve once restrictions are lifted. Gaishu here made the remarks during the launch of the 2018-2019 to 2022-2023 strategic plan that seeks to deepen investments in Kenya's financial sector.
The country's economic roadmap has no doubt changed course due to the whirlwind occasioned by COVID-19 that has hit the business environment hard. KRA already projects a revenue dip in excess of 280 billion shillings. Treasury now says lifting of restrictions to reopen markets will be the lifeline for the economy on the road to recovery.
We're hoping that the committee that is tasked to do that will give a plan of how to open the economy, but gradually. When it's locked down, the revenue collection is a bit slow, but once it's open gradually, we expect, because of everybody will be very active, and we're hoping to have the resources at least come to a manageable level.
In its 5-year strategic plan, Treasury says it will be focused on an enabling business environment that seeks to create jobs as well as prudent public debt management through diversified funding sources and improved revenue collection.
It goes without saying that we have to diversify our funding sources and improve our revenue collection to fund the goals set out in this plan.
Despite the economic challenges, government is still focused on ensuring attainment of the Big Four agenda by allocating adequate resources with a view to better Kenyan lives. The strategic plan will see promotion of digital finance, establishment of the Nairobi International Finance Center, deepening of capital markets, and implementation of the Public Investment Management Program. Now, smaller savings and credit cooperative societies risk collapse as coronavirus pandemic dent contributions. Kenya Union of Savings Credit Cooperatives Managing Director George Ototo says the SACCOs who majorly service MSMEs do not have sufficient liquidity to weather the current economic downturn, hence the need for a moratorium to salvage the situation. Here is Alan Aoko with the details.
Available data shows that SMEs constitute a majority of businesses in Kenya, providing 30% of jobs and contributing 1/3 of GDP. With the current crisis, many have found it harder to mobilize financial resources, thus undermining their long-term competitiveness and commitment towards their SACCOs.
The SACCOs that are associated with the SMEs may have it very difficult because the mother companies are likely to collapse. That's a fact. You look at what they were saying in statistics that 1.5 million Kenyans have already lost their jobs. What I know is that the 1.5 million who have lost their jobs are actually from the small-scale businesses.
Cusco Managing Director George Ototo says ongoing efforts such as automation and restructuring of non-performing loans, including lending on a short-term basis to members, have however done well to buoy most SACCOs.
What we have seen and also advise SACCOs to do is to ensure that they conserve the cash that they have and also discontinue certain things like lending long term to the members by advising them that it is important, because the future is not known, it is important for them to borrow short term and also repay short term.
Currently, there are 24,000 cooperative societies with a membership of 14 million members. Statistics from the Department of Cooperatives indicate that only 6,000 SACCOs are active. SACCOs,
or the credit union industry, since 1844 has been known to be very resilient. Even in 2007-2008 recession in America, there is no credit union or SACCO that was rescued by the government. If you realize, there were a number of banks that were rescued by the government of America. In Kenya here, there is no time that SACCOs have ever requested for any financial assistance.
Before the coronavirus disruptions, the cooperative movement had a loan book amounting to about 700 billion shillings. Alan Aoko, Channel One Business.
Small and medium enterprises are likely to rebound and serve as market linkages when the economy reopens post-COVID-19. Kenya Export Promotion and Branding Agency Chairman Jas Bedi is calling on Kenyans to embrace homegrown manufacturing solutions that have been realized during the pandemic, noting that this will liberate the country from being a dumping ground for industrialized countries. As the world scrambled for personal protective equipment for battling coronavirus, most countries, Kenya included, were forced to look within for solutions since global demand had outstripped supply for the protective gear. The local manufacturing sector rose to the occasion and has ensured there is sufficient supply. This is what the Kenya Export Promotion and Branding Agency says is a move that should be embraced beyond the pandemic.
We need to have in-country solutions. We need to be manufacturing locally. We need to be making sure that we are not going to become a dumping ground and not a supermarket for the rest of the world to sell their product to us.
I certainly hope that after the height of the pandemic is over, whenever that will be, that we shall not forget our innovativeness, and we will actually take some of these ideas to full commercial production and explore new areas of business.
Bedi says local manufacturing is key in ensuring Kenya's trade deficit is turned around.
But our imports are far exceeding our exports. Our imports are $16 billion. I think the small and medium-sized enterprises will definitely also do really well because they will really become part of the supply chain.
I think if these collaborations continue into the future, the industry is very keen to be very innovative. We are currently even working on the rebound strategy as the Kenya Association of Manufacturers for the manufacturing sector, and we'll be working closely with the Ministry of Industry to look at opportunities for import substitution, opportunities for things we can manufacture locally which we are currently importing.
He said despite the downturn of the SME sector currently, the small businesses play an important role in the supply chain by ensuring that market linkages are successful. Rice millers in the country are anticipating an increase in rice production to boost their milling capacity when construction of multi-billion shillings Thiba Dam in Kirinyaga County is completed. Capwell Industries Chief Executive Rajan Shah says the farm has been forced to import at least 10,000 metric tons of rice annually to meet its production capacity, a factor which can be abridged through local production.
Rice consumption in the country currently stands at 500,000 metric tons annually against a local production of 100,000 metric tons, with the consumption expected to increase by 12% annually due to rapid urbanization. The deficit has seen rice industries import the commodity to meet their production demand. Capwell Industries says its annual rice production stands at 20,000 metric annually, but local farmers can only supply half of the needed rice.
The fact that there is a liquidity crunch, affordability has significantly gone down, and we are seeing this across the industry, that demand has been subdued. We have seen how footfalls in supermarkets has significantly reduced, so purchasing power is also much lower. under these COVID times. I think people's incomes have been curtailed.
To increase rice production in the country, Couple CEO Rajan Shah wants a private-public partnership venture to assist farmers increase rice acreage in the country by training farmers on good crop husbandry and construction of infrastructure to support the whole rice production value chain.
Which is a government-led initiative, that a private sector and government-led initiative, where we have taken this conversation of aflatoxin with a lot more seriousness, and it's an interministerial kind of intervention through the Ministry of Industry, Ministry of Health and Ministry of Agriculture, together with the private sector, to find solutions for this aflatoxin.
The 20 billion shilling Thiba dam, currently under construction and complete next year, is expected to increase production by about 350,000 metric tons annually. Similarly, rice farmers have been advised to consider growing other crops in their paddy to increase the nitrogen content in their farms.
Let's play, shall we? The first step to lifting the standards of football in the country is for the current crop of players to give their all while playing for their respective local clubs, says Amani National Congress Party leader Musalia Mudavadi. Mudavadi today challenged football players to make sacrifices on the pitch while expressing concerns over the speed at which football standards are dwindling in the country.
The standards of football in the country have been a major concern to football lovers, with Kenya being one of the African countries that have found it difficult to secure a ticket to the World Cup. Many football clubs are struggling financially, with players going for months without pay and sponsors continuing to distance themselves from the sport. But ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi believes that the first step to lifting the standards of soccer in the country is for the current crop of players to give their all as a motivating factor to upcoming talents.
Spirit ya kuvuta watu, spirit ya kusema hata kama hatujakula lunch, tukipata maji na banana tuko kwa uwanja. Spirit ya kusema kwamba hata kama rent haijalipwa kwa mchezaji kwa nyumba yake, anasema nikienda kwa uwanja mashabiki watanisaidia, jioni nitalipa rent. Hiyo spirit ya kujitolea, ndugu na dada, mimi nataka tu niwaambie, hiyo spirit ndio tunahitaji, sio tu kwa michezo lakini kwa Kenya nzima.
While hosting AFC Leopards legends at his Musalia Mudavadi Center in Nairobi today, Mudavadi vowed to support the legends, current and upcoming players of the Kenyan Giants, who have struggled financially alongside their rivals Gor Mahia.
How can we continue to make sports profitable, to generate good employment for our future generations? This is the message. Because we would like to see honor in our sports people, not kwa uwanja pekee, lakini even after uwanja. Si namna hiyo? Hiyo ndio iwe target yetu. Na mimi nataka niwaambie, one of the things we want to do is to look at this area going into the future with a completely different perspective, so that sports can also be seen as a serious investment.
AFC Leopards were currently 6th on the Kenyan Premier League table with 40 points from 23 matches before the season was cancelled due to the coronavirus pandemic.
Now, from the FIFA World Cup, the Olympics, the African Volleyball Championship, and so much more, sports journalists all over the world, and especially here in Kenya, toil on a daily to bring you informative stories molded in impartiality as well as talent. Due to this, July 2nd, dubbed World Sports Journalists Day, has since the 1924 Paris Olympics been set aside to celebrate the services of sports journalists for the promotion of sports. Our sports colleagues here at KBC Channel 1 had quite a bit to say as they commemorated their special day.
I'd like to appreciate the efforts that have been made by sports journalists within the country and worldwide. You know, it's high time that we recognize the efforts that have been that have been done by sports journalists. I would recommend associations within the country and all over. The Ministry of Sports maybe can come up with awards, special awards for sports journalists across the country. You know, make them feel appreciated because of the work that they're doing.
Kazi hii ya wanahabari wa michezo naweza nikasema kwamba ni kazi ngumu, na ningewaasa sana akina dada, kwa sababu hivi sasa hapa nchini hatuna watangazaji wa michezo ama watangazaji wa kabumbu ambao ni wasichana. Nchi Tanzania, katika taifa la Tanzania kulikuwa na watangazaji kama 2 ama 3. Kwa hivyo katika hali ya utangazaji hakuna mwanamume, hakuna mwanamke. Mimi ningewasihi hata wasichana pia wajiingize katika mambo haya ya utangazaji, kwa sababu utangazaji ni kipaji.
When I came to this field, there was just a woman who was covering sports. That is Elena Shiveka. She's a celebrated icon in sports journalism. And I managed to join her, and I'm happy that we have so many women now covering sports, and they have been accepted in the society, though people are a bit skeptical about women covering some sports. But at the moment, we are so many of us, and I'm very happy. And so we celebrated this day with enthusiasm because we have managed to break the barriers.
I have to say this is a very odd year because around January everyone thought that the coronavirus thing would move away. But the situation turned global and so many things were affected. Sport was affected. It's part of the entertainment industry. That's the entire business that we're talking about. So the Olympics gone for Kenya, Continental Tour gone, under 20 championships in athletics gone, the Safari Rally gone. Basically, even think of building up to the Olympics and also other continental ties. So in the meantime, wear a mask and sanitize.
Indeed, we celebrate the sports team here on KBC Channel 1 and the entire Kenya Broadcasting Corporation sports team for the splendid work that they do. Now, moving on, the coronavirus pandemic that was first reported in the country in March forced the postponement of major sporting events that were to be held in the country this year, with the annual Lewa Marathon among those events affected. There was, however, a virtual event for the Lewa Marathon where participants were invited to run or walk for a distance of 5, 10 or 21 kilometers in their gardens, street or park.
This year's Lewa Marathon was supposed to be held on the 27th of June, but was among major sporting events that were postponed due to the coronavirus pandemic. However, there was a virtual event that saw over 1,000 registered participants from over 70 cities representing 20 countries, invited to run or walk either for a distance of 5 kilometers, 10 or 21 kilometers in their garden, street or park. This year's virtual event was driven by Huawei Kenya, who have been a long-term supporter for the Lewa Marathon and raised over 20 million Kenya shillings for wildlife conservation, community education, healthcare and tourism.
They're running in Kenya 20 years. As a responsible companies, we always pay a lot of attention for the environment, protecting the wildlife.
Mine's just to thank you all so much from across the world for supporting us, for running wherever you are across the globe, joining us and the team here on Lewa Running.
This is the first time in the marathon's history that the race has gone virtual or has indeed been postponed.
Further afield, Liverpool head coach Jurgen Klopp believes Manchester City will have a point to prove tonight when they welcome the recently crowned English Premier League champions to the Etihad Stadium. Klopp's side claimed the Premier League title last Thursday with 7 games still remaining in the season after defending champions City lost at Chelsea. Here's a look at the results and all the action on card across major leagues around Europe. it is on that sporty note that we bring Business Insight to a close this evening. But of course, my colleague Irene Muchuma Odem will be coming up with the latest in the weather. My name is Betty Kiptum. Byron Abuli is my colleague on the sign language interpretation. Good night.
Great, a very warm welcome to Channel 1 Weather Updates. Hope you're well from wherever you're watching us from. My name is Irene Mchuma Odem. It has been a chilly Thursday in the capital, and we're not expecting these conditions to get any warmer. And this does not just entail you to keep warm, but to be extra careful during this cold weather period. Cold-related diseases are likely to increase, and you just better take care of yourself to be on the safe side. As for tonight, cold weather conditions will continue over most parts of the country, though partly cloudy conditions will prevail at the Lake Basin region and western parts of the country. We're expecting showers accompanied by thunderstorms, and this is likely to extend towards tomorrow morning. In Eldoret and Kitale, there will be rains. For you in the capital, Meru and Nyeri, expect cool and cloudy weather conditions. And for you in Mombasa and Malindi, we're expecting wet conditions to prevail. But that won't be the scenario for the rest of the country, where we're expecting sunny conditions to prevail. In the afternoon, Kitale, Kisii, Eldoret, Kakamega, moving all the way to the northwestern parts of the country, there would be showers accompanied by thunderstorms over the coastal strip and northeastern parts of the country. Also for you over the southeastern lowlands, sunny conditions will prevail. Temperatures have slightly gone down across the country. In the capital, we're expecting maximum of 23 degrees Celsius. Lodwar and Mandera will experience maximum of 34 degrees Celsius. That is how weather is shaping up in the home country. Let's now cross the borders and see how it will be in the next 24 hours. Do have a good night and see you tomorrow, God willing.
Vera Beauty College.
Vera Beauty and Fashion College, with branches